Hello you guys, happy new year. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It has been raining cats and dogs. It has been raining non-stop for a week. You know what, truly speaking, I love rain. I've actually realized just last year that my favorite season is spring and summer. When it's hot and there's a high possibility of rain, that's my vibe. I love rainy season. And I know it rains in some parts of the world in winter, but not in South Africa. Well, yeah, it rains in Cape Town in winter, but for the rest of South Africa, when it's hot weathers, that's the only time that you can get rain. When it's winter, it's gonna be dry. It's gonna be so dry. And I used to think my favorite season is winter because I'm born in winter, but you know what, fuck that. Bye, Felicia. I'm done with winter. I'm so done. You guys, I would not survive in snowy areas. I would not, I remember fantasizing about relocating to certain countries. And you know what? When I think of the winters, I'm like, ma'am, I'm like a lizard. I'm as African as they come. I don't know if I would survive. I've accepted that I won't survive. It's fine. I may still relocate, but I'm going to suffer. I would relocate knowing I'm going to suffer. So there's that. Am I self-harming? Anyway, let's get back into the video. Hi, I'm back. Did you miss me? I missed you. I'm currently reading The Girl with the Louding Voice, and I won't spoil it for you because I'm on page 52. I started it yesterday. This book, I don't know how I feel about it yet. Although the entire theme of the story is girls' education and child marriages in Nigeria. The Girl with the Louding Voice, as far as I've read the book, the louding voice is education. So her mother had told her that only girls that are educated can have louding voices, meaning only when you're educated can you be able to state your mind, state your preferences, and also one character in the book also said that only when you're educated that you're not forced to get married, or you're not forced into arrangements that you would not be comfortable with, because people see educated women as having value to their families. But there's also a big debate, especially within the African context, that says that educating a black child, educating a daughter is useless because they just eventually end up getting married. I'm not feeling the book yet. And let me tell you why. The girl gets, look, I'm not going to spoil it for you. The girl gets gets forced into marrying this old man. And on the page that I'm at, the guy, I don't want to talk about it. It was uncomfortable. Yes, let me put it that way. It was uncomfortable. I also don't like how the text is written, but I understand why. It's supposed to be very illiterate, and even in the way that it's written, it's very illiterate. It's a bit annoying for me, but I have to finish it because I have to write my notes for my book club. So I'm gonna let you know how it goes. Back to you, because I shouldn't have been talking about a book that I'm reading when I should be talking about books that you should be reading. So if you are trying to get into reading or are not much of a reader, but you want to be one of those people that are like, oh well, I read a book, because I think it matters. Sometimes you just want to say you read a book, and I'm not saying lie, but I think we can all admit that there's a certain level of privilege that comes with having read a book or two or whatever. And sometimes people do tend to look down on people when they don't read. I'm not saying you should care, but if you care enough to want to get into reading, this is a video for you. But if you don't care, I also would like for you to care, because I want views on this video. So please care, and I'm going to introduce you to some of my favorite books that I think you should begin with. You can read this book and then never read again, or you could read this book and then continue to read more books. I'm hoping that, I feel like the contents in the books are just going to inspire you to want to read more. And if one of your New Year resolutions is to get into reading, this is the video for you. I'm going to introduce you to some of my favorite writers and some of my favorite books, and I think they are written in a way that can make you eventually read, And let me just give you a tip. You don't have to finish a book in 3 days. You don't have to finish a book in a week. You can read a book for 6 months or a year. Don't encourage it, but you can do it. I don't encourage it because if you take too long to finish a book, you're just going to dread the process of reading. But if you don't have time, or if you're really, really not into reading, I would say, okay, maybe set your weekends for reading. And if there's only 52 weekends in a week, 52 weekends in 52 weekends in a year, then you're not gonna read as many books, because you should also get to other stuff in the weekends. You're not just always gonna be reading every single weekend. So but yes, I would encourage that you don't put pressure on yourself. Don't put pressure on the type of books that you're reading. You know what, even if you read a pamphlet, it's fine. I encourage it. There was a time when I could not afford books. In fact, I don't know if I knew I liked books then, because I was still in school and I just read newspapers. I used to buy Daily Sun. It was still R1.50 at the time. After school, I'd buy Daily Sun. And I didn't mind, because at school I read a lot of short stories and there were a lot of literature stuff at school. So I never got the urge to buy books. Also, I didn't think I wanted books because I was reading everything else. So yes, this is the video. What's happening with my tongue, guys? I feel like I'm gonna have to edit this video a lot, but I'm also like, you know what? Perfect imperfection. Guys, let me take this seriously. I swear. After this, there's not gonna be any more tight tongueness happening. I'm kidding. There's gonna be a lot of these. I speak fast, and you know, I'm African, so, and I'm not speaking African language. Let's get into the books that you should be reading. The books that Book number 1 that I would like to recommend to you is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Fun fact of how I came about to learn. You see, fun fact on how I came about learning of the book. Guys, wait. I can't be speaking about books and I'm not making sense. Wait, I need to sound smart. Wait. Fun fact about how I learned of the book. Yes, so I was in a flight from Cape Town. The girl next to me was reading the book, and I was stressed because I think she was almost in the middle of the book, but I was so captivated by it that I was reading along to her. And I read fast, ne? So I would finish the page and I would wait for her to finish. I was like, I always wanted to nudge her, ma'am, turn the page. And then when we were about to get off, worst part, I was even drinking. I was drunk and reading the book, and I was like, I want that book. And then in fact, she wouldn't close the book. And then when she got up, she closed it, but in a way that I could only see the back. It's like she didn't want me to have the book. And then I had to tap on her like, Miss Ma'am, what's the name of that book? And she was like, oh, it's The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I'd never read anything by Toni Morrison before then, but I'd heard of her, obviously, within our spaces. It's Toni Morrison, duh. But I never really got the urge to read a book by her until I saw the contents on that flight. And then I got hooked. And my favorite part about it is that it's still very much relevant. It's an old book, but still speaks about the experiences we have, especially as Black girls, with regards to beauty. What is beauty? How do we respond to beauty? What are the standards, and who sets the standards as well? And I like that she puts it in a very intimate way. She personalizes our experience with beauty standards, as well as how we view whiteness as it relates to us. And just, I'm smitten. The bluest eye. Black girls don't have blue eyes, but does that mean you're not pretty? You know, that's just the entire context of the book. Absolutely love it. I'm sure you can tell. But yes, I recommend this book. If you like Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, I would also encourage that you read Beloved after this one. And then you can go on to read Jazz and all the other beautiful books that she's written. But this one, I swear by it. In a non-violent way, of course. But I swear by it. Number 2. This is Questions for Ada by Ijeoma. I love this book, but it is expensive. I'll be honest. It is expensive. And let me tell you something. It's a poetry. These are poems. You guys, like, I'm supposed to sound intelligent in this video and my tongue is not working with me. Yes. So these are poems by Ijeoma. I absolutely love Ijeoma, but When I bought the book, I didn't know it was that expensive because I bought it through the book stockfell. We contribute monthly. You contribute like maybe 200 a month, and then for 6 months, and then you give them a list of books that they should get for you. And one of them was the book stockfell. I think I got it in 2019. Yes. But when I saw the price individually, because I think it's like over 400 or 450, I was like, ugh. Speaking of Ijeoma, yes, the book is expensive, but it's worth it. And I've also noticed poetry books are expensive, hey? Like, I'll have to investigate why. Because, okay, I encourage the book. I like how she writes of sisterhood and motherhood, relationships between mothers and their daughters, as well as the experiences of people that live in foreign lands. Like if you're born in South Africa and are raised in Kenya, or if you're Nigerian and maybe you migrated to the United States, that experience of being a foreigner in a land that's meant to also occupy you and also keep you safe and accept you. I mean, if you're from a country that's maybe being run down and you're escaping to a country that's meant to be functional, you would expect for your experience of that country to be better than that of your debilitating country. But for the most part, and I do agree, experiences of refugees in certain countries are just, they are really laughable. It's insane. And usually most of these countries have capacity to treat refugees well, but they just don't, because, well, most refugees are non-white. So I'm sure you also know, with the experience of the war in Ukraine and in Russia, the experiences of black Russians, Ukrainians, or the foreigners in Ukraine that were not white versus those white Ukrainians that were escaping into neighboring countries was vastly different. So I like how she writes about that, but I especially enjoy her prose about women and motherhood and sisterhood. Absolutely love it. Encourage it with my entire soul. Book number 3. This is 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled. I absolutely love it. I love this book. You will realize that most of the books that are my favorite center women or girls or children. And I love this book especially for its ability to capture the experience of young girls in war. It's based in the Afghan war. And I especially enjoy, I like people that write like poetry. You know when, oh no, someone's calling me. Are you kidding me? We're going to pretend I didn't get disturbed again. As I was still saying, I enjoy when people write books that feel like poetry. Because, you know, when someone writes novels, but it's so poetic, it's so sensitive, it's just so mellow. Like it's haunting in a beautiful way, though, in a very beautiful way. I feel that way about this book. I absolutely love it. And if you are to read anything by him, I'd say read this one. The Mountains Echoed. Well, a lot of people are not liking it because I think they're also comparing it to this one. The Kite Runner, I encourage it. Okay, let me put it this way. Read the other ones first and then read this one last. Because if you read this one first, your expectations are just going to be high. Unless you're not planning on reading the other ones, then you can begin with this one. Don't say I didn't advise you, man. Don't say I didn't advise you. Book number 4, my ultimate favorite book in the entire world. This is Never's Conditions by Tsitsi Dangarembga. It's set in Zimbabwe. 14-year-old Tambu goes to boarding school. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But I love the experience. I feel like I keep saying I love the experience of black women. But I especially love how Tsitsi Dangarembga is able to show the repercussions of colonialism in the Zimbabwean context on the lives of ordinary black girls. I enjoy that part about the book. I love the independence the character has, Tambu. I love her independence. She's only 14, but very steadfast on her ways. And I enjoy how sometimes, especially with her relationship with her cousin, I feel like she envied her cousin a bit. I think she may have yearned to be as mischievous as her cousin, but a lot was laying on her shoulders, hence she was as careful as she was. But I also feel like in her carefulness, she was also still very rebellious. Just subtle ways in which African girls rebel. you know. I like that she's not overly rebellious, because if you come from an African household, you just know you're not going to be as rebellious as the girls that you see on TV, but in your own little ways you are revolutionizing your life, and the decisions that you're making are just significant in your own way. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. I don't know. Fun fact, this was book number 5. I want this to be book number 5. So book number 5 is 2 books. I absolutely love these books. I've raved about these books to anyone that will listen. I absolutely love the books. I love them. What can I do? First is The Shadow King, and second is The God of Small Things. So if you're someone that says, okay, I'm not sure if I like political stuff, I don't want to learn a history, so boring, yawn first. If you're that sort of a person, I highly encourage you to read fictional books that have history and some politics in them. You don't have to watch the news, you don't have to be depressed, but you also know what's happening in the world. The Shadow King speaks of the Italians' invasion of Ethiopia. I absolutely love the women in the story, very courageous, and most of the time when we speak of history and we speak of people shaping countries, rarely do women get recognized. I actually saw a book one time in a bookstore. I don't know why I didn't buy it, but it spoke of young girls' resistance to apartheid South Africa. And when we speak of apartheid today, we speak of old men. We speak of Nelson Mandela. Well, he wasn't as old then, but we speak of Nelson Mandela, we speak of Oliver Tambo, we speak of Solomon Mahlangu. Solomon Mahlangu was maybe 18, 19 then, but how many 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds or 14-year-olds or 13-year-old girls that you know today that you can name and claim to say these women played a pivotal role in collapsing apartheid? It's very difficult for us to name those people because they've been erased from history. So it's important for us to seek those stories. If we don't have them, we must write about them because they have been there. It's not like women were hiding under rocks while Italians were invading Ethiopia, or when during apartheid South Africa, women were just hiding behind shacks while the men were throwing stones at the police. Women and girls were very much active in the struggle against apartheid. And I think it's important that we seek those stories, especially because we need to identify to them as well. Literally, we must know that, I am born of women that were resisting against this sort of things. So you don't just sit there and accept oppression of any kind and just think, oh my God, I'm such a weakling. I'm an egg. You're not an egg. You are born of women that were resisting very, very serious forces. Women that were fighting and were in the army. Women that were... You're not an egg. Do you understand? And you don't have to accept any form of oppression because you think that women are supposed to be hiding behind anyone. You're not supposed to be hiding behind anyone. And when you read books like this, you start to recognize that, oh, these are my ancestors. These are people that I come after. And then you start behaving like that. Another book that reminds me of such context is Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda. Speaks of the Igbo, there was a war in Nigeria, tribalism, all of those things. Another one is The Girl Who Smiled Beads by Clementine Maria. Love it. Speaks of the Rwandan genocide. And it's from her perspective. It's an autobiography. She's saying, when I was 7, I was running away from the Rwandan genocide. I was separated from my parents and my siblings. I saw my family members get slaughtered in front of me. Those are experiences of young African girls that have been right in the middle of wars and have seen atrocities, you see? Atrocities beyond what we can imagine. And those are the people that we should be drawing inspiration from, and people that should be encouraging us to keep on keeping on and to fight structures that continue to dismantle our communities and to just wage war and to destabilize peace in our communities. So yes, highly encourage that you read The Shadow King, highly encourage that you read Half of a Yellow Sun, as well as The Girl Who Smiled Beads. You can find more of those books, but yes, that's the vibe. Book number 5.2 is The God of Small Things, set in India. I absolutely love Arhundati Roy. She's gained a a number one fan in me. I enjoy how she writes of family relations, especially between twins. You know, I'm not a twin myself, and I've always been curious about that dynamic between two people born at the same time, of the same womb, those types of things. But I like how she speaks of them in an individual sense. You know, just because you were born of the same mother does not mean that you get the same experience growing up. And I love how she writes about love, about our yearning for love, and the things, the extents to which we go to achieve love. And think of how moth is attracted to flame. It's sort of like that, but at the same time, it's comforting in a way that you would also encourage the moth to go to the flame, because if you know, it's just so cozy. I love it. I absolutely love it. And those are the books that I encourage that you read this year. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of my chaos, and I'm going to see you next week. Hopefully I would have finished The Girl with the Louding Voice, because we're making the presentation to my book club at the end of the month, and I'm currently bored by it. But today I'm gonna try to read at least 100 pages, and then so that I don't have a lot to read next week, because I have to film two videos. Thank you for watching. Happy New Year, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.